Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about taxes. I'm just wondering what taxes, as you know, Rhode Island has kind of a reputation of having high taxes pretty much across the board, everywhere. What taxes would you say would be most important to try to actually lower? I know we have kind of a high sales tax, income tax is kind of all over the board. What would you say is the most important tax that we really have to target in order to maybe generate some economic development here?
Let me just jump in quickly on a couple of ones. Probably the most important is the income tax, particularly on the higher brackets. I was up in Massachusetts a couple of weeks ago at a conference of state finance chairs from all the New England states, and they put a table up, showing what the rates are in every state, and that 9% Rhode Island rate just hits you right between the odds. The biggest thing we need to do is to develop our industrial, our corporate base. We have to be competitive with other states. So therefore, in order to be competitive, our rates have to be competitive with other states. The high corporate rate's a bad one. The high sales tax rate is a bad one. Dr. Halley referred to it in part. We have a very high sales tax rate, which hurts us in all the polls, in all the national polls. The fact that it doesn't apply to everything, no one, and the net collections are actually a lower level. That doesn't help us on those polls. And perception is critical when you're trying to attract industry. So those are the two that are right up there at the top as far as I'm concerned.
I would agree that we need to make Rhode Island more attractive to businesses, and taxing and fees in particular. The kind of fees, if you're talking about a fishing fee, that's just one fee. A business owner has fees. A business owner has to pay $100 just to be a business owner. Right off the register, pay $100 to be a business owner. So we need to do away with those kinds of
500.
500.
500, Jim.
500.
Inflation.
But you need to pay money right up front in order to just be a business owner, just to say I'm going to have a business. And that's a tax, and that tax should be done away with. I think also we need to take and get a better, and right now our property taxes are killing us in the state. Anyone who owns any kind of property, then they're paying taxes, and they're paying taxes because we have a tax system that really isn't working, that isn't an equitable tax system. So we need to really look at the entire tax system. We need to figure out, okay, how are we going to attract businesses in, and how are we going to set a tax system? How are we going to make sure that the state pays its time and doesn't push it off on the local property owners, on individual fishing licenses, and those types of things. So we need to examine the entire system and then come up with a system that works. And it's a much more complex thing, and we need to take it and work on it in a way that's going to make sense for everyone. Thank you.
It's no surprise to everybody that budget policy is part and parcel of tax policy. We all want to lower our taxes. We know we need to lower our taxes to compete. And to Will's question, left, it would be getting the marginal tax rate down, getting our franchise tax down, really getting it down everywhere we can take a burden off of individuals and businesses in this state. But in order to look at any of this seriously, we've got to look at our spending problem. If we look at the structural expenses, the structural debt that's been handed down to us from, in my case, a 20-year Democratic incumbent, but in this case of the state, a 60-year Democratic incumbent General Assembly, it's crushing. It is absolutely crushing, and there's no easy answer. Whatever reforms we make are going to have to be, even if they're drastic, they're gradual. And so the prospect of us getting these taxes down in the next couple of years, I'd love it. I'd be the first one to sign up if we could. But frankly, our leaders, the people that we have put in place for over 60 years, have made promises that we can't keep. So we got to get the spending down. As Colleen mentioned, pension reform is the #1 target of my campaign. We're going to put our employees into defined contribution. We're going to get the spending under control. When we get the spending under control, we get our taxes down and we can compete. If we educate our kids for 21st century jobs and those taxes are competitive, then Rhode Island can compete. And we have a historic opportunity here. It's based on the fact that we're just about the worst position in the country. We can be the first to do this. And New Jersey's going to beat us to it, but we have to get to it now so we can compete and win.
When you need the bell. But I'm going to focus on small businesses for 1 second. Talking about fees, that $500 should be cut down to maybe $400, $450. Give them a little tax break. Why do small business owners have to get a license and pay a fee to have a jukebox in their place? Or why do they have to have a license or pay a fee to have entertainment, so-called a television in their place? All these tiny little things, if we could just stop them, would help the small businesses. I mean, they're getting taxed to death. Take a ride around town. See how many businesses are closing. It is out of control. The focus of me winning this campaign is going to be keeping the business in the community. We've got to lower the taxes and help them out, guys.
I think we might have time for 1 or 2 more questions. I think I have a question from the gentleman in the back. Gentlemen.
I was going to let it ride, but I wonder if anybody old enough here to remember how we drove the boat manufacturing industry and boat sales industry out of the state and lost thousands and thousands of jobs. Does anybody remember that? Maybe I'll ask the question directly.
I wasn't here when that happened, but I know that this past year we sold $42 million worth of boats in Rhode Island, and that's money that it was fewer boats that were sold in Massachusetts or in Connecticut. And to pick out one industry and favor that industry over other industries, to me, just doesn't seem like a fair type of thing. And I think that the idea of us driving out boats out of, or boat builders or boat owners out of the state by having a sales tax on boats that's not going to happen.
It happened before. The Rhode Island legislature did it, and they drove them to their knees. Thousands of jobs.
It's the ocean state. The ocean.
Well, I still feel that you support all businesses equitably. You don't pick out one business and favor that one business over the other. Because in actuality, someone who owns a truck is paying for someone who owns a boat.
How much is cutting the spending and forget about raising any taxes?
I'm talking, we still need to have, you can cut the spending as much as you want, but you still need